Hey, I'm John Rogers. This is the Amazon argument. It's an examination of South Dakota versus Wayfair, and it's a discussion of its implications. It's called the Amazon argument because it affects large companies that do all of their business online, like Amazon and Wayfair.com. There's a great quote by Daniel Webster: "The power to tax is the power to destroy," because the Amazon argument and the Wayfair is about taxes. The Commerce Clause of the Constitution of the United States gives the Congress power to collect taxes, and it also gives them the power to regulate taxes between the individual states and foreign governments. The Dormant Commerce Clause, I'm just going to read this. The Dormant Commerce Clause is a legal doctrine created by the United States Supreme Court based on the Commerce Clause of the Constitution. The Dormant Commerce Clause is used to prohibit individual states from enacting legislation that discriminates against interstate and international commerce. What happened was in New York and New Jersey in the 1800s, two states were trying to tax businesses or ferry drivers from going across from one state to the other. And the United States Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. In Gibbon versus Ogden, it's the first time they used the Dormant Commerce Clause phraseology. John Marshall said the power to regulate commerce between states can never be exercised by the people themselves, but must be placed in the hands of agents or lie dormant. He's saying that states can't do it, but the federal government, the United States Congress, is the only ones that can regulate commerce or taxes between states. The Commerce Clause was the accepted law of the land for over 100 years. The Supreme Court reiterated it and said that it is going to be the law of the land all the way through the 20th century, even to the last 20, 30 years. National Bellis Hess versus Department of Revenue of Illinois created what's called the physical presence rule. It was established in this case. The Supreme Court ruled that for states to create a tax against businesses, that business had to have a physical presence in that state. For instance, Wayfair doesn't have a physical presence in, say, Texas because they're based out of Massachusetts. So therefore, the state of Texas cannot place taxes on Wayfair because they're not based here in Texas and have no physical presence here. And that's what the physical presence rule said. Quill Corp versus North Dakota reiterated the physical presence rule because of companies were selling on the internet or e-commerce, and just like Wayfair, didn't have a physical presence in states. That means the states couldn't tax them. It's just reiterating what the last Supreme Court case said. But then come to the present Supreme Court, South Dakota versus Wayfair, which was in 2018, 2 years ago. The sitting Supreme Court effectively struck down and invalidated the Dormant Commerce Clause and brought the Commerce Clause itself into question. What happened was Wayfair, of course, is 100% online on the internet, and they're based out of Massachusetts. And they sell in all the different states, different 50 states and Puerto Rico. And South Dakota's decided that because they do so much business in South Dakota, they wanted to tax Wayfair and make them pay sales tax in the state. Even though Wayfair had no physical presence in South Dakota, the Supreme Court decided against Wayfair and gave individual states the power to tax entities that had no physical presence in their state. The court claimed that simply having a nexus with the state was enough to impose taxes against entities. Nexus, in their definition, was basically any dealings with the state at all. So because they were selling in the state, that meant they were dealing with the state, and that was the nexus that they used. Before this, the nexus had to be pretty strong. Now they basically say, if you have anything to do with our state, then the state can charge you taxes. With this decision in South Dakota versus Wayfair, the current Supreme Court has deleted over 100 years of precedents. They've effectively erased the Commerce Clause, giving individual states the power to regulate commerce between themselves and levy taxes against whoever they want. Who does this hurt and who does it help? Here's who it helps. Individual states. The individual states are always looking for new tax revenue, new ways to raise money, whether it's versus via oil or uh, lotteries, whatever. They're always looking for new ways to make money. State governments are forever looking at new resources of revenue. No legislature likes to raise taxes on individual citizens because it makes us mad. We don't like paying taxes. So that hurts the senators and the congressmen's chances of being reelected if they raise taxes on us individuals. If governments make big businesses look like the bad guys, like Wayfair or Amazon, uh, then people are more likely to accept taxes against those entities. But who does it hurt? Who does this ruling hurt? Private companies, large and small, and consumers. Each state and Puerto Rico has its own set of tax laws. With the demise of the dormant clause, businesses that sell their wares in multiple states will be forced to learn the tax laws of each state, local and municipality. This could be in excess of 10,000 sets of tax laws. Take me, for example. I used to sell on a website called Etsy.com. I make furniture out of my garage, and I sell about $200, $300, $400 worth of stuff every month. And I have customers in like 30 different states and in several different countries. With the demise of the Dormant Commerce Clause, every one of those states can charge me sales tax, and I'm gonna have to learn what the sales tax percentage is in each state and collect it and then pay it to each state. What if I went to all 50 states? That's a lot of taxes, a lot of rules that I have to follow, and spend a lot more time paying those taxes and figuring it all out. Uh, Large corporations like Amazon, Wayfair, they have the financial and legal resources to deal with these laws because they have large law departments and they have a lot of lawyers and they have a lot of money, so they can deal with them. But small individuals like myself, like I was just talking about, we don't have all that and we don't have the time to do that. We just want to make a few extra dollars online. Uh, the larger corporations also, all they have to do is raise the prices of their wares and pass those taxes on to the consumers. I could do that too, but I don't want to raise taxes on all my customers by 10, 15%. They're not gonna like that. And, small businesses are going to be forced to sell only in a few states or just their home states. Some businesses, like mine, are going to close shop completely. I'm not just not going to deal with it. I've got better things to do than try to figure out all these new state laws and taxes. So what's the solution? Supreme Courts don't have a track record of reversing their own decisions. The current sitting court most likely is not going to do that either. They're not going to change that tradition. First solution, wait a generation or two, hope that a new Supreme Court will look back on this and realize the error of their ways and reverse the former decision. But that could take generations. It could take 20, 30 years. Second solution is change the Constitution. An amendment can be made to the Constitution clarifying the Commerce Clause and reiterating that the U.S. Congress has the sole right and responsibility to regulate commerce between states. That solution is the best course of action for us to take right now. This can only happen if citizens and voters like ourselves contact our federal representatives and voice our displeasure with the Supreme Court's decision in South Dakota v. Wayfair. When they hear multitudes, millions of the constituents raising their voices, they're more likely to take action. Here's a phone number for the U.S. Congress switchboard and the websites to reach your U.S. representatives in the Congress and in the Senate.